So let's start with this whole idea of being gangster, right? It's not like just about acting tough in the traditional sense, but more about projecting this image of total control. Like you've probably seen it online, people flexing their perfect lives, showing off achievements, or like pretending nothing ever gets to them. It's kind of wild how there's this pressure to always look like you've got it together, even when deep down, that's probably not the full story. But why do we even do this? Like, what's the point of pretending to be untouchable? Well, part of it is just human nature. Acting strong makes us feel safe. It's like a shield, I guess. Plus, society kind of pushes us to look like we're always winning. Whether it's at work, school, or just in life, the world doesn't exactly reward vulnerability. So people start building these personas. It's easier to act like nothing bothers you than to admit that, life is actually kind of messy sometimes. And the thing is, these illusions of invincibility, they work, at least for a while. Like, yeah, it feels good to put up a front and avoid dealing with harder truths. But the problem is, it's not sustainable. Sooner or later, something always comes along that, cracks the facade. And that's where things start to get real. But for now, it's worth recognizing how much energy we put into looking strong and like why we feel we have to in the first place. Let's talk about what happens when reality, dissolves. This isn't like some small inconvenience or bad day. It's those moments when everything you thought you knew kind of falls apart. Like, maybe it's a personal loss, a massive failure, or even like one of those nights where you're staring at the ceiling wondering what the point of it all is. It's heavy stuff. And it's in those moments when all that gangster confidence, the bravado and tough exterior just crumbles. When reality starts slipping away, people tend to react in all sorts of ways. Some freeze up, completely overwhelmed by it. Others try to double down on their toughness, pretending everything's fine, even when it's like super obvious it's not. And some people finally let themselves feel it all, the fear, the sadness, the confusion. It's messy, right? But it's also like really human. These moments kind of force us to face things we usually try to ignore or like push aside. The thing is, when the facade breaks, it's not just like a bad thing. It's also a turning point. Sure, it's terrifying to realize that, we don't have everything under control, but it's also a moment of clarity. It's like, oh, wow, life isn't about pretending to have all the answers. It's about figuring out how to navigate when everything feels uncertain. And honestly, those moments of raw vulnerability, they can be where real growth starts. When reality dissolves and all that tough guy stuff kind of falls apart, what's left? Well, it's honestly the most raw and real version of ourselves. Like, yeah, it's scary at first. Nobody wants to feel exposed or vulnerable. But here's the thing. When we let go of that need to act like we're invincible, we actually start to, connect with what really matters. It's like, without all that pressure to look perfect, you can finally just be a human. And rebuilding from that place, it's not easy, but it's, meaningful. When the facade is gone, you start to see what actually makes you strong. It's not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about showing up even when it does. Like, resilience isn't just pushing through. It's learning to adapt, to, grow from those moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. And being vulnerable, that's not a weakness. It's like where authenticity comes from. So yeah, maybe when reality dissolves, it feels like the end of something, but it's also the start of something new. It's a chance to, strip away all the superficial stuff and figure out who you really are. And maybe that's the real lesson here. You don't have to be gangster all the time. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is embrace the chaos, let it shape you, and come out the other side just a little more, real.